Hello, everyone. It's Parker again for more Tales from the Land of Celestra. This is Fate's Cartography, Chapter 2, A Rough Draft. Ethrin and Morrill walked towards the gathered Evanel just before the first gate of the palace. And Yvette saw them approach and met them halfway. She was young, perhaps only 30 suns. She had the most tan skin Ethrin had ever seen, and her sharp bone structure indicated the wild blood was strong within her. Morrill saw her and shook his head. "The fates must be joking," he said. "Morrill," she shouted in disbelief. She was not traditionally attractive. Her brown hair rested plainly at her shoulders, and she wore no color around her eyes. Her lean legs were wrapped in sturdy leather greaves. Her off-white shirt looked fit for a hard day's work. Her only decoration was two golden gem-studded accessories that rested at the points of each ear. Ethrin had heard it was common for wild-blood Yvette to hide their more rounded ear peaks with these pointed attachments, but this was the first he had seen it. Her brown eye scanned Morrill head to toe with obvious disapproval. "Were you selected? Or was the wine not sending you to an early grave fast enough?" Morrill shook his head again. "Oh, there's nothing inadequate about the wine." He produced a wineskin from under his shirt and took a long swig. "I was selected. But you're a special sort of stupid, aren't you? The guard does not select girls, Ellie. What the fates have you gotten yourself into?" Ethrin awkwardly began to move away from the pair, but before he could, Morrill handed him the wineskin. "I'm so sorry, where are my manners? Have a drink, Ethrin," he said. Ellie scoffed before Ethrin could get a word in. "Oh, but it's not rude in failing to introduce your friend." She held up her hand in new friendship, and Ethrin reluctantly met it with his. "I'm Ellie Dracena, but I'm called Ellie by my friends." Morrill laughed. "I'm the only one to call you Ellie, and I'm not even your friend." He was smirking at Ethrin and never saw the fist that rammed hard into his ribcage. He doubled over and coughed. "All in jest, Ellie. Steady now, that really hurt." "I'm Ethrin. I've only just met Morrill here." He attempted to give the wine back, but Morrill refused. "You insult me, friend," he said as he recovered his posture. "I won't take no for an answer. This may be the last time you feel the tingle of sweet intoxication coursing through your blood." Ellie made a noise between tongue and teeth. "High blood, if I've ever seen it." She seemed to really notice Ethrin for the first time. "Such blue eyes and long white hair. But you've dressed as though you just stumbled out of the forest." "You're wrong," said Ethrin defiantly. "I'm not high blood, and I didn't stumble." For some reason, they both found his response hilarious. Morrill put his arm around Ethrin. "Ah, a high blood with a sense of humor," he exclaimed. "Truly these are the end times. Now don't wound me any further, friend. Drink." Ethrin glanced to the Evanel group, now being herded inside the gate. With a heavy sigh, he took a drink. It wasn't too sweet. The burn was subtle and smooth. "This is good wine," he said as he handed it back. "You'd better put that away before we get to the gate." Morrill scoffed. "I've got connections on the inside. My father was well known in the guard. I plan on getting away with murder, although not literally." Ellie was frowning. "You've not properly dealt with his passing, have you? I can see it in your eyes." Morrill turned his face from her. "Child, why have you come? Don't expect me to look after you. It's not too late. Turn around and—" His words fell short. "And what?" Ellie prodded. "Turn around and go home." "Palynthia's gone, Morrill. Our families are gone with it. I'm not turning around, and I don't need you looking after me." She walked to the gate and spoke to the Evanel holding the scroll, who penned something in it and let her pass. Morrill tucked the wineskin under his shirt, then looked at Ethrin. "Well, friend, are you ready?" Without waiting for a response, he too walked to the gate. With a long breath, Ethrin followed. The Evanel holding the scroll found Morrill's name in it and made a mark. After allowing Morrill through, he turned to Ethrin. "Now, what about you? What's your name?" the Yvonne asked, with a certain regal yet bored tone of voice. "Ethrin. It's my only name, and you won't find it in there. I've volunteered." Morrill stopped from walking to turn a curious head. The Regal Yvonne had a brow raised as he slowly penned Ethrin's name. Right, Ethrin. And why have you come to the guard? Ethrin thought for a moment. To rid the world of sorrow. He felt a little silly saying it out loud, but it was the truth. The Regal Yvonne motioned him onward past the gate. There was a second gate not 20 paces in, but once through it, Ethrin could see the palace completely unobstructed. The road narrowed to a stone ramp roughly 5 paces in width. It was a very subtle incline that eventually flattened to serve as a bridge over the rocky terrain below. The Evanel group had gathered at its base. The overly regal Yvonne took a few steps up the ramp, then turned to address them. This is Nethelhim, he spoke with a flourish of his hand. In the old understanding, it meant singing footsteps. It is believed that in the early days of high-blood royalty, it was a custom for Avenel to sing praises to the kingdom's beauty as they walked the path. You are all familiar with the saying, there are many paths, but there was once a second part to that expression that said, but only one leads to Celeste Forte, or Sky Palace, as it's more commonly called. That saying is still true today. This bridge is the only way in or out of the fortress. Fates forbid the fight should ever come to Nethelhim, but if it did, 5 fully trained guard could hold off countless daemons from advancing here. Celestial guards such as yourselves. My name is Altel Wondros, Aaron Van for Grand Master of Defense Ericles Daemonbane. Ethrin's skin tingled. Being addressed as members of the guard gave him a sense of pride he hadn't expected. Altel motioned for them to follow. Come, he said. It's about a 3-marker walk from here to the palace. It'll be my head if I don't have you all there by the end of the first circle. Nethelhim started as a bridge, but became a series of narrow walkways and stairs that cut its way up the rocky mountainous terrain supporting the palace. Along the way, 2 guard towers overlooked the group within arrow range. A slew of questions crowded Ethrin's mind for answers. What ancient enemy did the Evanel face to warrant such defensive measures? Had anyone ever accidentally fallen off the narrow path to their death? Would they be able to enter the balcony that overlooked the end of the world? He stifled his thoughts and remained quiet. The further they ascended, the more visible Celestia's Edge became. Ethrin's heart began to stir. Peering off into the white, blank horizon of clouds had been a dream of his since childhood. You've never looked over the edge? Morrill asked incredulously. It's a whole lot of nothing, honestly, but in the days of my youth I did wonder at what strange and fantastic lands lay hidden below the clouds. Ellie overheard and leaned over to Ethrin as they walked. He speaks as though he's not still a child, she whispered. Ethrin laughed and avoided Morrill's questioning gaze. There were beautiful houses and pillared buildings as they drew closer to the top. Ethrin silently speculated at the enormous importance of those who dwelt there. As they climbed the final flight of stairs, he considered how tedious the hike would be during the mid-sun months. Even with a cool breeze, he had worked up a light sweat. At last they came to the main gate of Celeste Forte. It looked much like the previous gates, except added were bulging corbels lined with tall parapets. The fortress was layered with 2 main baileys, all encircled with the famous twisting white spires of the city. Once he passed the portcullis, Ethrin could see Evanel walking to and fro minor buildings within the fortress gates. The floors of the bailey were perfectly laid squares of marble, all deep green, red, or blue. They followed Altel's lead into the circular center that supported the higher level of the palace. They passed through a silver archway that revealed the centermost structure was hollow. Inside was a massive grand hall with colorful tapestries and intricate mosaics depicting the fates. Patterned red and blue carpet lay beneath rows of wooden benches, all placed in a circle around a massive silver and gold engraved wooden chair. Ethrin nudged Moral with his elbow. Is that? He couldn't finish the question out of embarrassment. The throne? Moral finished for him. No, that's just where he sits during feasts and other less formal audiences. If you think that's a great chair, just wait till you see the throne room up on the next level. Altel overheard and spoke. Which is exactly where we're headed. I suggest you all be wise and shut your mouths from here on in. Be respectful to all who dwell here and remember yourselves. He led them to a staircase that curved up the circular wall. It was lit by torches every so often, but sunlight also peered inside through block-sized gaps in the stone. At the top of the stairs, a large wooden double door stood open on metal hinges. 2 guards, armed with swords, donned the standard blue shirts bearing the mark of the Fates in white. Ethrin noticed the chainmail under their tunics as they nodded to Altel. Once through, they were outside again. The upper bailey had short-cut green grass encircling the most impressive white marble building in the world. Every feature was exaggeratedly large, the pillars supporting an eye-catching angular pediment, a colonnade that seemed to go on forever. Above it all, a colossal tower with a silver dome stretching into the heavens. Even the steps in front of them seemed a bit too large for Evanel to easily climb, but climb it they did. Alright, that is a rough draft of Chapter 2 of Fate's Cartography, the fantasy novel series that I'm writing. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed the setting out here in this magical forest in which I've provided for you. As always, have a wonderful night. Fateful Slave, I'm out.